Hi everybody, welcome to the Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pentelresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com and click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, get involved, solve some issues, work out some ideas, cooperate. I'm always encouraging people to cooperate because there's tons and tons of benefits in cooperating. I also am published throughout the internet as well as on byebyebluesky.com and throughout different links and sites everywhere across the planet these days. So when you can, have a check out the website, augmentinforce.com. Pay special close attention to the nano information, the glyphosate information that's there, the genetic stuff that's there. We are in a whole brand new world of hurt today, and a lot of you have been getting sick and trying to figure out why you are not recovering. So check them out. I'm going to get right into it, like I said, because these shows are only an hour, so I don't want to get into a long-winded intro. I want to talk about, a lot of you are getting what is being known as the chem flu, which again isn't a flu per se. It's just a overloading the body with high levels of toxicity from chemtrails that they're raining down on us. When you're looking at the weather and you're looking at the snow, ever ask yourself the question, is this snow? Is this really snow? Have you ever noticed how unusually cold it's been getting? And when you go outside, no matter how warm you dress up, you bundle up, you feel like the cold is cutting through everything. Did you ever think, for one brief second, that there might be metallic material in the air causing the excessive cold that you're feeling? You gotta remember, Al Gore came out years ago and started, harping on the Earth was getting too hot. We're cooking. We're gonna burn up. So we need to cool the atmosphere down. And they started the stratospheric engineering, changing the weather, adding components to the weather, geoengineering the climate, geoengineering the planet. As a result, today we have an overabundance of metallic material in the atmosphere, which are on a nanoscale. We've always had these particulates in the atmosphere from industrial waste, volcanic ash, and other things that would have released things into the air. But because of the excessive outpouring of these chemicals that are coming from the airplanes and drones and any other flying contrivance that they may have up there, we're now feeling the full brunt of the impact. So as a result, those of you who are elderly, those of you who are compromised, those of you who are already afflicted, this compounds the impact on your bodies, on your health, on your immune system. When we talk about nanotechnology and we talk about how the nano can get into the cells, can get into the DNA, and can actually shut down a DNA response to activating your immune system. I had a fellow come in today and he said his temperature had exceeded heat that he thought for sure he'd exceeded the safety margins, and he had been sick for at least 3 weeks with this temperature. And he, got over it, but he's still not all there. It has sapped him of his strength. A lot of you are going through the same thing. So I'm going to give you some ideas and suggestions on how to combat this so that you can, get back on your feet and have an attitude. You should be having an attitude. If you're aware of what's going on today, you should be having an attitude, and a bad one. And a bad one. A good attitude in regarding to fighting, a bad attitude to what is going on with you. So let's get into the whole premise of what are we going to do. All right. You should be fortifying your bodies with things like copper, with zinc, and you should be taking higher doses than they are suggesting, because for this reason. The doses they've suggested are far lower than what you should be taking. The standards that they're basing everything is based on some standard that's archaic and outdated and in a whole different frame of time and environment. We are living in an environment that requires smart thinking, not traditional values. Traditional values have their place in keeping things stable, but when things change, you also have to change to meet the challenges that are coming at you that we've never faced before. This is called growth. This is called development. This is called evolution. When we're talking that the very environment that we're living in today can create an epigenetic effect on our genetic code, meaning that the environment's pollutants, environment's toxins, environment's poisons can alter our genetic code. That means that we have to start thinking smarter in order to maintain the code, in order to be able to maintain its activity. We can no longer base our presumptions on things that we have heard, because the things that we have heard has brought us to this point of compromise and dysfunctionality that we are dealing with today. We are dealing with, a hierarchy that has absolutely no value for life on this planet, period. We're dealing with a machination that has taken over the values that make us what we are. Everything now has all been based on efficiency, profitability, and is not necessarily coming from corporocracies or governmental institutions. These are the instruments in which these things are being implemented. What I'm talking about is artificial intelligence running this planet, acting on its own, running on its own program, controlling the very financial institutions that you are putting your money into. When we're talking singularity, this is the term today that they are effectively using, singularity. This is another word for what the Bible calls a one world system. The singularity had already existed one time before in the Bible, and that's when the Tower of Babel was being constructed. And when they were of one mind and one language, that is a program. That's a program operating system running the planet. And God had anti-singularity response to a singularity program. He created language, and not just one language, multiple languages. We are now back to that realm today. We're right back at it again. Same place, same time, same channel. So when we're talking, what are we going to do? You have to first and foremost start thinking as an individual. Who you are, what you're being impacted with, where you're living, how you are being affected. The next thing you have to understand is the very things that you consume to sustain your bodies may be the cause of your compromise. The things that you've been assuming that may be healthy for you may in actual fact be causing you issues. Not necessarily because of the food supply itself, but what is in the food supply, or what has been altered in the food supply, or if the food supply in fact has been irradiated, changing its genetic structure so that when you consume it, you are now having a compromise because of it. So this is important that you understand this. This is important that you start evaluating this. When you start talking in terms of, oh, I've got a flu, oh, I've got a cold, oh, I've got this, I've got that, and then you're looking at, well, how come I can't get rid of the damn thing? It's been with me for 6, 7, 8 weeks. I'm still suffering with this hacking cough and this painful chest and these sore, achy muscles. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I'm completely in a fog. Doesn't that sound like something might have been injected or aerosoled into you? Doesn't that sound like a deliberate violation of your personage? Doesn't that sound like something you've taken that has caused the very essence of your genetic code to be altered through some form of epigenetics and transgenics? So you don't think that way, but you need to. You need to start thinking in terms of genetic engineering, transgenic engineering, epigenetic engineering. You have to start thinking in those terms. The metals coming down from the sky, the chemistry coming down from the sky, the radiation coming down from the sky, all has an impact, each in of itself. But when you combine these things, they have a multiple set of impacts, not just one or two. This affects life in general. This affects the bacteria in the atmosphere. This affects the bacteria in the soil. This affects the microbes in the soil and in the air. This affects everything on every level. And now we're being exposed to this environment that was not naturally put here for life. Now, you're infected. You feel like shit. You feel like hell. You feel like someone just walked over your grave. Let's see what we can do. Number one, you got to breathe. You have to breathe, right? You don't have gills, you have lungs. You have to breathe. So, the first thing we do is we neutralize the air we're breathing in our environment. What do? We get a humidifier. We put some iodine into that humidifier. You can put some peroxide. These are not to put everything in the humidifier that I'm mentioning. What I'm doing now is suggesting options for you so that if you don't have one thing, or if you're poor and you can't afford one thing, you have other options that you can, again, put in there. Okay? Now, you can put in peroxide. Peroxide will oxygenate the atmosphere. It will kill viruses. It can kill certain forms of bacteria. It can kill a lot of things, or it can eliminate a lot of things. I guess it might be a better word. Iodine. How many of you've got children and they're coughing and hacking her up all night, they're hurting, and and they got this and that? You put iodine in the humidifier. Let them breathe that. It's an immune fortifier. Okay? Put some vitamin C into the humidifier. Dissolve it. Let it run. You're going to breathe that in. Vitamin C has a lot of antiviral properties as well. These are some of the things you can do. You can also put essential oils in there, but I must warn you that if you do use essential oils and they do, again, go into the atmosphere or into the air, it can damage the seals on your humidifier after a period of time. And they'll tell you not to do this and not to do that. I mean, you can buy these things at any used second-hand store for like anywhere from, in Canada, from $10 to $12. In the U.S., probably about half. And then wherever you're living in the world, again, you'll have to shop around. But like I said, these, number one, you got to breathe. Turn your bedroom into a hyperbaric chamber so that the nanoparticles that you're breathing in, because you are breathing these nanoparticles in as well, okay, will not further compromise you, will not further cause you damage, will not further exacerbate your genetic code. You got to remember, you are breathing in nanoparticulates. And if you think I'm a little crazy on this, go get yourself a green high-powered laser, burning laser, fire that from ground level, and look at all the sparklies in the beam. Where are those metal flecks coming from? And do it outside, so you can't blame that it's dust in the house. Okay, so this way you can actually view and see what's really in the air and what you're breathing. All right? So that's one thing you can do. Okay, you can drink teas that can also increase oxygen into your system. Peppermint is a very good one. Paul Diarco is another one. These are teas that you can make now. Let's say you don't have a whole lot of money. Let's say you can't get these exotic herbs I'm mentioning. Well, how about getting some garlic? Peeling the garlic, putting the garlic in a pot, boiling it up, and then drinking it. Drinking it as a tea. Add a little honey to it. Add a little maple syrup to it if you need to. How about onion? Do the same thing. Pour an onion, chop up an onion, put it in a water, boil it up, and drink the onion juice. This is going to protect the lungs. It's going to protect the liver. It's going to, again, boost glutathione levels. It's going to produce quercetin. It's going to protect the colon. See what I'm saying? Let's use what we got. Let's use what we have. If you can't afford to go to a health food store to buy the stuff, but you have money to go to a grocery store, then start using what's there. consume it. Another thing you want to do is get an apple. Peel the apple. Okay? Chop it up, put it in a blender. Take an onion. Peel the onion, first layer, chop it up, put it in a blender. Add a little water to it, you know. Blend it up. If you want, you can add an essential oil if you like. How about we put in some thyme? Ooh, thyme is divine. Or oregano, or marjoram, or nutmeg, cinnamon, clove, you know, eucalyptus, camphor. Put 1 or 2 drops in there. Blend it up. You know, then consume it. This too will help you fight not only the respiratory infections, but anything that may get into the colon. See, we got to use what we have, and you got to understand why we're doing these things. Okay? Every time we have an event occur, chemtrails today and yesterday in Windsor, Ontario, Essex County, we had chemtrails up the wazoo here. And this is not a special place. This is a daily thing. We get hit. And I had a call from the county saying that everybody in the county had a respiratory issue going on. Okay. All of a sudden they had a cold-like symptom without having a fever or a cold, and their chest was congested and they were being mucosal, because they are releasing particulates and nano that is getting embedded into the respiratory system and around the bronchi area. Now, what are we going to do about this? Okay, you need to first and foremost start thinking in terms of fortification. Build up your body to become more resistant to this bullshit that they're putting down on us. Secondly, if you already are down, then number one, you got to come up with a remedy. You got to come up with a countermeasure. Okay, measures and countermeasures. I haven't used that term in a long time, because you're dealing with an artificial intellect that is trying to assimilate you and trying to reduce the population. If you won't surrender, you're going to be turfed. That's how it looks at you. So, if I'm going to be turfed, I'm going to be turfed the way I'm supposed to go, not because some machine said I'm going to go. Now, we are having a respiratory issue, so I'm going to give you a formula. Get your pen and papers out. I'm going to give you a formula. I want you to take some onion. Take yourself an onion. Peel the outside, chop it up, throw it in a blender. I want you to take a cup and a half of vodka, rum, gin, whatever you've got that's clear base, or brandy or cognac. Okay, I don't want whiskey because they got stuff in the whiskey. But if you can get whiskey that doesn't have the wood in it, so you make a whiskey and there's no wood, you're making your own home brew, even your moonshine. Making your own shine, use it. Get it up there on the proof wise, 100, 120 proof. You know, not that 200 proof octane stuff you guys make, which I'm not against. But in this situation, you don't want to be dead. You want to heal your body. All right. You take a cup and a half of vodka or clear base alcohol. You then you blend that for 10 minutes. Okay, filter that. Then you're going to get the essential oil of thyme. And you're going to get some kind of copper. I don't care what you get. Copper, colloidal copper, copper sulfate, copper chloride, even the chlorophyll. Okay? And you're going to put, for every ounce you've got of the onion extract, you are going to put in 1 drop of thyme. You got 10 ounces, you put in 10 drops. You get 5 ounces, you get 5 drops. You're going to put 2 tablespoons of that copper in there with it. Okay? And you're going to take that with vitamin C, a half a teaspoon, 2 grams. And you're going to do, if you get hit, you immediately start using this every half hour for the first 4 hours. You got to get this going, because this has a 24 to 72 hour gestation period. In other words, it takes that long for it to incubate and get inside. If you can nip it in the bud before it gets going, you can save yourself some grief. If not, you're going to have a fight. So you do that every half hour, okay, for the first 2 hours. And then after that, you take a dose every 4 hours or every 3 hours. You have to sustain this in the body every 3 to 4 hours. Don't let it get to 5, because at 5 hours, you're going way down. It's too late, too far. It can. So when you're looking at doing this, again, you can also give this to children, but with the children, you may want to cut it with a little maple syrup. I'm not crazy about honey unless you filter the honey, because the honey will be loaded with nano. Do not use apple cider vinegar. I'm not a big proponent of that anymore either because of the nano contamination in the skin. They're not cleaning the skin, and they can't clean the skin. So use the white vinegar. Go to the grocery store, $2, $2.50, whatever. You buy 4 quarts or a gallon of this stuff, or 3 liters in Canada. That will go a long way. It has a lot of healing properties. You use that. Okay. Those of you who are having problems in the lower extremities, say you got a diabetic foot sore, you got sores going on in your feet, you are going to take vinegar, 50-50 with water, and you're going to clean those wounds with vinegar. Okay? Especially if you got diabetic, and you may see those sores go away. Quit eating the bloody bread. Quit eating these bloody grains. They're all coated and saturated with this nano crap and genetics. Okay? There ain't a safe bread anywhere. Don't give me your thing, well, how can I eat this? I don't want to hear it. If you're not willing to cut the poison out of your system, then be prepared to pay the price. End of story. If you're not willing to cut the crap out that's causing the problem, be prepared to pay the price. Now, when you have this respiratory thing going on, if you're a smoker, quit. I'm going to explain why you need to quit. I don't care if you use nicotine. They got these nicotine things. They're pure nicotine. You want to eat a drag of nicotine? Go get a drag of nicotine. But don't use these vapes, and don't use the... What do you mean, what? What? You got a what here? Oh, yeah, quit. You have to quit. I don't care if you use tobacco. I don't care if you use real tobacco, but don't use the cigarettes, because the cigarettes are wrapped up with all kinds of chemicals, and every time you take a drag from a cigarette, you're putting carbon nanoparticles in your lung. And if you get hit with a respiratory hit from these chemtrails, that carbon is going to say, oh, look, my long-lost family, they're already here. I'm going to attach myself to those particulates, and we're going to create a network in the respiratory system and maybe cause a pneumonia, or maybe cause some other kind of tuberculosis or pleurisy or some other mutated version of a pathology. See what I'm saying? Everything is designed to hijack you. Tobacco in and of itself is not an evil. Never was. It's the chemicals they mix with the tobacco. Just like they talk about meat causing cancer. What a lot of bullshit that is. Okay, meat doesn't cause cancer. It's the crap they mix with the meat. When you're looking at tobacco, if it's clean tobacco, like a native ceremonial tobacco, doesn't got any sprays on it, that you use. But don't smoke it. Either extract it and put drops of it in your coffee or in your tea, or again, consume it with cocoa or something. But don't smoke it. Once you smoke the tobacco that you're buying at the store, that has been chemically treated with nano sprays. And the moment you suck in and take a drag, you have now taken in those particulates, which are now embedding themselves in the lungs, causing your immune system to become compromised, to be infected. And when they spray you, they don't give a fiddler's fart about you. When they spray you with this stuff, this now has something to adhere to inside your respiratory system, because you put it there. So this is why I'm telling you what to do in regard to this. So again, I'm going to die. No, you're not going to die. You just go get some vitamin B3. Okay, now if you got to quit, one thing you're going to do is you're going to get niacinamide, which is nicotinic acid, a form of nicotinic acid. And you're going to use 500 milligrams 5 times a day until you can get your levels down. Where you're going to have a problem is the chemicals in the tobacco that's causing the addiction. It's not the tobacco. So if you get that B3 inside your system, it'll help calm those urges down. And if you can take a high level of B3 and take a nap or go to bed with it, you may wake up with reduced levels of cravings. Okay. Well, if you don't quit, you're going to die. If you quit and you're going to die, at least you'll die healthy. You won't have some machine trying to take you over.